Hey everyone, good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are when you're watching this. Nigerian XDW Speaks here, otherwise known as Trust. How are you doing? How's it going? Let me know what you've been up to. Things seem to be attempting to ease down in some places in terms of lockdown. So let me know, put in the comments wherever you're at. Are you still on tight lockdown? Have things eased up already? Are you going into it? In fact, I know that there are parts of Nigeria, so states in Nigeria, where they're just starting to go into it. So, yeah, I want to know where you're at. Here in the UK, we've been on lockdown since 23rd of March, and I think they're going to start shifting things from next week. So, who knows? We'll see what's going to happen. Okay, you didn't ask for that information, but there you go. You're getting it anyway. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you like what I say, give the video a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Can I speak? Subscribe as well, and hit the notification so that you know when I put videos up. I try and get a video out at least once a week, usually on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And the purpose of this channel is to show life after living the faith, and how we can navigate it and shake off some of those things that have happened and put ourselves forward. So what I wanted to talk about today is semi-prepared, semi-not. It's something that's been on my mind for some time, but with the passing of my granddad last week. So if you're here, I think it's the last video I made that my granddad passed away. My mom's dad, who was a witness, very hardcore, and that created a sort of distance between us because well, for one thing, phone wasn't that accessible. I don't think I had a phone number for him. But the way I would have stayed in touch would have been if either my parents or my uncle went to visit, and I could ring them and they would pass over the phone and talk then. But the fact that I left the religion meant that my parents didn't want to do that. They didn't want to pass on that phone and then he'd have to find out that I've left, because I think that would have broken their heart. And so we all just sort of accepted that, consciously, subconsciously, I can't speak today, consciously, subconsciously, that conversation was not going to happen, and that is sad. That is a real loss, and that is time that I'm not going to get back. He's gone now, and that's it. I don't want to make this video about that, but it got me thinking, right, it's definitely time to talk about this. The perception, and if you're a former witness here and you can relate to this, chime in below, because I'm sure there are people who are going to watch this that either have never been witnesses before, or you're currently in the process of trying to figure out, is it right? You have doubts, but you're not sure, or you're terrified. Your comments below are going to help, put more weight to what we're saying. The more people that are sharing experiences, the harder it is to dismiss it. You can't tell people they didn't experience what they did. So share your story, chime in below, and let me know if this is what you experienced as well. Growing up, my perception of the outside world, the worldly people, from attending the meetings, the Jehovah's Witness literature, you'll have the impression that everybody else out there was doing drugs, drinking, being completely promiscuous, cheating, stealing, like it was completely crazy out there, and the only place to find genuine decent people was within the four walls of a kingdom hall. And so that's what you're meant to believe. And when they even show examples of people that do leave, that, were in the religion and then decided to leave, they always show them as, the whole prodigal son story, where they left and then they lived in debauchery and they lost everything. They got into like absolute horror, absolute misery. And that's the picture that's sold to you time and time again, that if you leave, this is what's going to happen to you. If you leave, your life's going to fall apart, everything's going to go wrong, everything bad's going to happen because you've left Jehovah and Jehovah's spirit is no longer with you and everything's going to go horribly wrong. And I came away from that really expecting everyone to be horrible out there. And so that sort of plays into, do I want to say that I've left? What does that mean? What are they going to think? That I've become this epitome of everything bad, everything lawless, everything wrong. And now that I'm on the other side and I've had a couple of years to be separated from this religion and had time to think about it, I've been working on this. I have videos where I've talked about the journey that has happened sort of in the last 2 years, the different sort of emotions that were part of that. I can link that here. Is thinking, right, the best, I don't want to call it revenge because it doesn't really affect those 8 men in New York or the governing body, the people that run the whole show. So I don't want to call it revenge. I'm going to say the way to prove it to yourself, not even to anybody else, that no, that is not true, is to go on and make something of yourself and live the sort of life opposite to what they're telling you is going to happen to you if you leave. Just going out there and doing something pretty amazing with your life. It doesn't have to be, getting rich and famous, but something that's meaningful, something that is the opposite of that narrative that they're telling their members. If you leave, you're going to fall into drugs, drinking, excessive sex with no inhibitions. Actually, that might not be a bad thing, but never mind. That's a story for another day. Of course, we want to be safe and stuff like that, but living a life that shows that that is not what it has to be. And so I've been mainly to reassure myself, and if it helps you as well, by putting a list together of some of the good things that I'm going ahead to do. Some of them big, some of them small, like really not significant, but together builds to the picture of, no, you don't turn to drinks and drugs and everything lawless. You don't start lying and stealing. And in fact, you're more likely to lie to cover up stuff if you're in a religion than if you're not. I want to hear your points as well, by the way. When I give my list, I want to hear as well what things that you've done or that's happening in your life that totally smashes that narrative that they tell their members, that if you leave, your life falls apart. What is it that's happening in your life that you've done that totally challenges that? And how does that make you feel? I want to hear that as well. So I'm going to run through my list. It's not a look at me, look what I've done list. Is an encouragement. If you are at the point where you're right at the edge of leaving, it's not true, but you're worried about whether your life is going to all turn to mush if you leave. If suddenly you're going to find yourself doing horrible things, it doesn't have to be that way. That's the point of running through this. The first thing on my list, you know what? It's not going to sound, I don't know how it's going to come across, but I want to start with this. If you need to, and I think a lot of us will, if you need to get therapy, professional help right at the start, not because there's something wrong with you, if you don't want to, say that, but just to have a different perspective, challenge whatever has been going on for however many decades you were in. If you were born in like I was, then you've probably been there decades and decades of your life. And you might just need that professional to come in to challenge some of those ideas in there and give some perspective and just change the narrative a little bit. Fortunately for me, as at the point that I was waking up, I was already, attached to a therapist that I was working with, so that worked out really well. I could talk through those conversations during the sessions, but I'm going to start with that. I think a lot of us are probably going to need something like that, and I would encourage you to do it, because if you don't make sense of what happened, that, I believe, in my opinion, I'm not a professional, therapist. I haven't researched this, but I suspect that not having figured things out, not having worked things out properly, might be part of the reason why some people fall off the rails. I personally, when I first took a break from the religion, that might have been something beneficial for me, but that's a story for another day. I hadn't woken up then. I was just taking time out. Again, I've done my story of how I left. I'll put it somewhere for you to go ahead and see that if you want. But just someone to sort through it might just make the difference between completely going off the rails versus going, oh, I see, I get it now. Oh, so that's why that feels like that. Oh, that's why that's like this. And then you can go forward making empowering decisions. That's the first thing to do that I did. The next thing, coaches. This might not be for everyone, but if you are someone that, you have come out and you're deciding to either go in business for yourself or start something different. So it's sort of either or, depending on what you feel you need. If you're not going down full-on therapy route, you just need a coach. And let me explain what I mean. A coach is not about hyped up and stuff like that. For me, a coach is, right, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. Here's someone that's already done it, right? And I want them to show me how they did it. Not about hyping up. It's about someone who's done something that you want to do, who is somewhere where you want to be, and you ask them to show you how to do it. For me, that's coaching. That's what coaching is. You have an end goal. There's someone who can show by evidence that they know how to do that by being there themselves, and they show you how to do it. And that just makes journeys a lot easier, rather than, taking however long it takes to figure things out. Because here's the thing, when we leave this religion, there are a lot of areas that we are a little bit behind, unfortunately, in terms of certain forms of development. Because if you think about it, we have come from a background where everything's pretty restricted. The people you can be friends with, the sort of things you can read, the sort of people you can, spend time with, the sort of stuff that you can watch, that you can listen to, the kind of career you can have. And we've come from a lot of restrictions. And what that does, as a child growing up, there's a lot of things that just go past you that you've missed out on. And so you might not necessarily have all of the tools to get you from A to B in the quickest way possible. And you might just need a coach for that. So something to think about. Again, it's all adding to building a life that is the opposite of the narrative they say, that when you leave, everything falls apart. So that's something that I've done. So I've talked about getting therapy. I also have a business coach, someone that has the sort of business that I want to have. And I've gone, right, show me how to do it step by step. How have you done it? And I'm doing that right now. And this one's a bit of a silly one, and I'm absolutely not there yet. Like I said, they're not all going to be huge. Editing videos. Oh my goodness. Well, clearly I'm not going to edit this one, as you're going to see, but it's something that is on my list. of stuff to learn. And hopefully I stick around here long enough to show you what I'm doing, to show you what I've learned. If anyone is good at teaching that, reach out to me, because I want to get that figured out. The point of that is, not just about bringing content, but engaging in something productive, something that isn't risky, dangerous behavior, which is the narrative that they tell you that you're going to fall into. The other thing that totally goes against that narrative, I am, aside from my business, during the day, I have a job that I feel makes a huge difference day to day. So I work within clinical trials. This is, a drug's been developed and it's time to check, does it work? Is it safe? Does it do what it says it's going to do? And that's across many disease areas. I have trials within cancer, within cardiovascular diseases, ulcers, fibromyalgia. So a huge range of clinical trials that I project manage. And I can see every day the difference that I make. And when I get the email or I get the call to say, exciting news, the drug that you helped us test, that's been approved, it's being used right now to help people, to treat people, that is contribution. I'm not waiting for a new system to come to do stuff like that. I am making a difference now. I am doing something positive. And so what's on your list? What's something you're doing that challenges that narrative? And the next thing I've put down, so I've talked about the coaching and getting a coach, because I want to have a business and I'm getting a coach that's done something like that. So I have put together a coaching program for women to help them with financial skills, money management skills. And that again is making a difference, contributing, passionate about women, because I am one, and I feel like in some way we're playing catch up with finances. If we look back sort of in the long stretch of time, it was only sort of during the world wars, at least in this part of the world, that we were able to really go out into the workforce and make money for ourselves. So we've been catching up, and so they were the group that I had in mind when I put this together. But again, something productive, something useful, not falling off the rails, but actually doing something that's beneficial. And then the last on the list that I've put on here is I am booked. So for my American subscribers, I am booked to feature on Fox TV in September this year. Now, I don't know what's happening with this COVID-19 and whether we're going to be able to fly. If not, I might have to do it by video link or something else. I don't know how it's going to go, but I am booked to be on Fox TV in September to talk through how I support women with their financial skills. I'm very proud of that, and again, it's just going against that narrative that everything falls apart and you end up lost, you end up being a complete mess, and then you have to come back. And I want to challenge you, if you're listening to me today, if you're here, whatever stage of the journey you're in, it's never too late. It's never too late to change the story, change the narrative. It doesn't have to be what they say it's going to be. You get to decide what your life afterwards is going to be. It's not a race. We're going to need different degrees of help, different amounts of support. There are groups out there. If you're not going down the therapy and coaches route, there are groups out there for ex-witnesses. Expose yourself to people that have left and gone on to do something good for themselves. It's not about being rich. It's about making a contribution in something that matters to you and living a life that you can be proud of. Because at the end of the day, you have to look yourself in the eye every day. You have to live. So for me, it's like I have to live inside my head. I have to live with the thoughts that I have, and I need to be proud or at least comfortable with the things that I'm doing. Because if I can look myself in the mirror and say, you did your best, you're okay, then it doesn't matter what's going on out there. And being able to look within for that sort of validation and knowing what matters to you while making a difference to the outside world and being of service and of value, you are smashing that narrative. You are smashing that story. And if you have family members who you're hoping and wishing they would come out as well, the last thing they need to see is you completely losing it. If you won't do it for yourself, do it for them. Whatever it's going to take to get you living a life that you can be proud of, do it. Do it. You've taken the first key step, which is asking questions. You might have taken the next step, which is finding the answers. And if your answers have led you to leave, that's wow, you've done that. Now what next? Are you going to prove them right with the narrative that they tell their members day in, day out? Or are you going to smash that completely and create a life that you can be proud of, that you want to live, and show an example for yourself? Because I don't like to make it too external. For yourself, that you are capable of being a good person. I mean, confession time. Sometimes even now, it's still I still get a little nudge in the head where I was like, oh yeah, this person is completely decent and they didn't need to be a witness to do that. You know, there are people out there who earn an honest living. They are faithful to their partner. They help the elderly cross the road, return someone's wallet if they find it, and are good to their children, and no Jehovah's Witness indoctrination needed for that. Even now, I have to sort of pinch myself and go, oh yeah, yes, this happens, and I want to be part of that story. I want to be part of that narrative of, yes, you can be good without deference to this religion. They don't have to be part of it, and you don't need to fall apart and absolutely be ripped to pieces because you left. Okay, I think we are nearly at 23 minutes, so I am going to leave it there. I want to hear what are the things, like I said, happening in your life that completely go against that narrative. Did anyone else hear that as well, or is that just me that heard that narrative growing up? And even right now in the videos that they make, whenever they talk about someone who is coming into the truth, aka the religion, they're always coming from everything was horrible and then they came in and everything got sorted. Did anyone else hear that? Did anyone else see that? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click on the like button as well, because that helps more people to see it. And I'm gonna try something. I'm going to put a video here. Hopefully I'm pointing in the right place. The next one you can go ahead and see after you watch this, because why not? See more of me. All right, I'm going to speak to you next week. Look after yourselves and take care, everyone. Bye.